back to my channel, folks, and today on my holiday dish series we're doing black-eyed peas. Yes indeed. Okay, now as you can see, I'm doing frozen black-eyed peas, but this recipe can definitely be used for dried black-eyed peas. And for those of you that don't know what to do with a dry black-eyed pea, you soak it overnight until the beans are tender and get to cooking. For our seasonings, we're going to be using Lowry seasoned salt, garlic powder, onion powder, black pepper, and we're also going to be using 2 bay leaves. Now, before we put the beans on, we want to start with the ham hock and get that nice and tender. But if you don't like pork, you can also use smoked turkey parts and get a similar great taste and flavor. Because I'm using 2 bags of black-eyed peas, I'm going to use 2 smoked ham hocks. We're going to go ahead and let this boil for 1 hour, and then we're going to come back and check our water levels. We don't want it to burn. Okay, here we are at the 1 hour mark. These are still tough. The total cook time for the ham hocks to be extremely fall off the bone tender is 3 hours. When your water gets this low, you want to go ahead and fill it back up to cover the ham hocks. You know, because you want all that to get tender. Because if you leave it like this, just the bottom part is going to be tender, and that's not what we're trying to do. So make sure you keep that water above the ham hocks the first 2 hours at least. Okay, 2 hours have passed. I'm going to check for tenderness because we're going into our 3rd hour. And it's all right. It's not quite tender yet. I mean, the fork went through, but it ain't that you can chew it without no teeth tender. You know what I'm saying? So at this point, we're not going to add any more water to cover. We're going to start adding my butter, that's 2 tablespoons. And we're going to get busy with the seasonings. I'm going to put in 1 tablespoon of seasoning salt. You can add more later. 2 tablespoons of garlic powder. 2 tablespoons of onion powder. And you can use fresh garlic and fresh onion if you prefer. Now for the pepper. Well, you know, there's 2 types of peppers as far as the black ground pepper go. You got this kind where the grounds seem to be a little more grainy, and then they have that fine ground black pepper. That's totally up to you what you use. Use at your leisure based on your spice level. We got this mixed. I'm going to go ahead and add the beans in. Remember, I'm using 2 bags. If you're using more than that, be sure to adjust your seasons accordingly. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up. Now, at this point, we're not going to add any more water, okay? We don't need to cover them up because, like I said, we're in the 3 hour mark. So the ham hocks are at a tender point where if you want to, you can just pick off that. But I like them fall off the bone tender, and that's going to be when we hit that 4th hour mark. Okay, so I'm going to get this other pack open. We're going to sploosh them in there as well. Okay, I've mixed all the beans in there with the seasonings to get everything incorporated. And now we got to add 2 bay leaves. And I'm using 2 bay leaves because I'm using 2 packages of the frozen black-eyed peas. Okay, it's been 30 minutes later, and total time we're at 2 hours and 30 minutes. At this point, see how the water has dropped? So I'm going to go ahead and add 1 cup of fresh water to the pot. But at this point, I can actually give it a taste to see if there's anything I need to add. Now, of course, as always, be careful when you're tasting because this is hot. We only want a few beans on the fork. We ain't trying to have a whole swallow there. Okay, already I can say these beans are not done, but the flavors are there. Now me, I'm watching my salt. But remember earlier in the video, I added 1 tablespoon of Lowry's. You know, if you feel at this point in time you need to add a little more salt, by all means, go for it. Always taste your broth when it's safe to make sure you don't have to add anything or it's too much of something. Because this is that zone time right now where we can make adjustments and it won't mess up the beans. Now, we're not pouring enough water in to cover the ham hocks. We're just pouring this fresh water in to get the beans tender. The ham hocks are good. So now I'm going to go ahead and let it come back up to a boil. That should take about 30 minutes. And then I'm going to give it a taste to see where we are with the tenderness. Okay, now it's time to give it another taste. My water boiled down just a little bit more. I'm going to try to gauge whether or not I need to add more water or cut down my temperature. Let's check them out. Okay, from what I can tell from the taste, it can do another 15 minutes. So our total cook time is actually 3 hours and 15 minutes. Do not forget to take out those 2 bay leaves. You don't want nobody crunching on that. That's not tasty like that. It just adds a good flavor to the beans when they're cooking, but not a good flavor to be chewing on while you're eating the beans, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and cut my temperature down and let it simmer on out for the next 15 minutes. All right, now the beans are done, so plate up with your main dish and serve. Now, when reheating, please be sure to add a fresh cup of water because overnight them beans will soak up that salt from them ham hocks. Thank you so much for watching, folks. See you in the next one. Peace.